Welcome to the Real and Real Estate Podcast, your go-to show for real estate success. Whether you're an agent aiming to crush it or a buyer or seller wanting the inside scoop, we're here to deliver expert advice, insider tips, and the real talk you need. Each episode, we chat with top industry pros to give you the facts, strategies, and inspiration you need to thrive in this business. Let's dive in and make big moves together. Hi, welcome back to the Real and Real Estate, where we talk to the experts to get the facts and dispel the myths. And once again, I'm here with the amazing Mickey Lee. He's our tax value, market value expert when it comes to property tax here in Harris County. Actually, many other counties, but we are in Harris County at the moment. So welcome, Mickey. Welcome back.
It's an honor.
Thank you. Well, I know we talked about this recently, but I wanted to talk about it a little bit more because homeowners in Harris County, actually probably most of Texas, are going to start receiving their property values. And this is the value that the county appraisal district has assigned to their home. It could, based on many different things and based on whether you've fought your taxes, your taxing value, or not over the years. And so I wanted to just get into this a little bit more. Tell us about you and your company that you work for again, please.
My name is Mickey Lee. My name and the company I work for is called Ad Valorem Tax Management. I'm actually a partner there, and I've been doing this for this year. It'll be 30 years, which is a long time, but it's a passion of mine now, and I kind of feel like this is what I was meant to do.
Sounds like it, because if I remember correctly, you started at 16. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. I just this is before Google Maps, and I would have to drive to each property, wheel each property, which is basically measure, and then take pictures. That's when we had to, back in the day when we developed photos and took it to
Yes.
Walgreens or whatever and got it back, and I had to put all this information together for the tax consultant at the time.
Well, that's a monumental job. So thank you for doing this so long, because I feel like I truly am talking to an expert. So thank you. Uh,
Thanks.
okay, I wanted to ask a couple of questions. People have sent questions. If they go into this, is this a way for them to? They were asking, "Am I overpaying?" I think my answer would be, if you've never fought your taxing value before, you might be overpaying on value. Would that be a fair assessment?
I truly think so. If you're not fighting it or having someone fight for you and doing this every year, it's one of those things that you just got to do every year. And if you're not doing that, you're definitely overpaying. If you're okay with just paying the bill and not questioning it, then you can go about it that way. But I think there is definitely money that is left on the table when it comes to fighting your property taxes.
Well, I'm sure the county would be very happy if you didn't fight your taxing value, but I think you should every year. As a realtor, and I've mentioned this on our last podcast, people will, if they've never fought their taxes, they will look on the county appraisal district and go, well, this is what we should list the house for. And that's not necessarily the current market value, what the house would sell for. It's what you're paying taxes on. And that's always hard to explain. So yes, I definitely think it's very important for them to every year. I mean, unless you just bought your home and the value they have is less than what you just paid for it, then don't tell them. Don't tell them I
You're
said that
exactly
either.
right. Yeah, you're exactly right. But there's I do have clients that, sometimes there's stuff that's included in that paperwork. So you got to be careful. Like if you're buying the lot that's next to you, right? So there are situations where they did pay way more for it, but there are, circumstances why. And unfortunately the county will only see that sales price onto one of those properties. And so we just gotta, like you said, kind of be careful and such like that, but just got to know the situation.
Right. And as they say, not every picture tells a story. Uh,
Mhm.
and that the other thing was, can I actually win? And I can say from my personal standpoint, I have won when I've challenged my taxing value. And this is what you do for a living every single day, is help people get the
Mhm.
right value on their property, or as best as you can, so that their taxes are low.
Yeah, like you just started the podcast. This is a kind of a Harris County focused area because that's just where we're in right now. And when it comes to Harris County, it's the biggest county in the state. Some people think of it as pretty scary situation, but they're out of all the counties, I think they're probably the easiest ones to work with. Their technology is great. Everything about them is great. So it might saying that might put me out of a job, but I really, as a taxpayer, I employ people to do this themselves to understand the whole process. And I don't think it's not as scary as you think it is. It's just having the right information to back up your claims.
Yes, and sometimes for the average person, it might be difficult to get that information, which is where you come in. I mean, I can provide some comparable sales to a client, but there's much more to it than just the figures on MLS that I have to come up with. So, tell us some of the things that go into what you do for a client that comes and says, listen, I just really can't deal with this. I've got too much going on. I don't want to deal with it. Can you do this for me?
Yeah, just like any government entity, going to the driver's license, you go in there and you wait and you wait and you wait. And
Yes,
so that's kind of part of why you're paying for me because, you go in there, you hurry up, you got to get on time because if you're late, you miss your meeting. But, and so essentially I'm there all day, uh, you know, taking care of other people's situations and such like that. But it's one of those things where, oh gosh, I lost the thought on that again, like our last one.
well, it's one of those situations you do something like you do this every day. So you know how the system works.
Uh,
You know how to get the best response out of the system. Where someone like myself that has done it in the past, but I don't do this every day. So I don't know all the ins and outs.
yeah, that's what it was. Essentially, the time savings is a huge one because you don't want to wait at the county all day long. And then the other
No, I
part is
don't.
just like you said, there's comps. We have, as a real estate agent or broker, you get access to the MLS, which is a fantastic thing that you can see all the transactions that happen in the area. Not everyone gets that, and so we're part of that
Yeah.
community, and we have access to that. And so there are different things that we make models for to help us with evaluation, true evaluation. Like we talked about last time, nobody knows your property better than you. And so that's where you would
Right.
come in and say, hey, I do have foundation problems. I do have these things where the county would never know. And, essentially that needs to be a part of the presentation also. So it's us working in conjunction together to get your valuation down.
Right. So the first step in the process itself, the process starts when you receive your letter from the county appraisal district saying,
Mhm.
this is what we valued your property at. And then it will even tell you that if you want to protest, this is a step on how to do it. But as far as if I go, okay, I got this letter, I am swamped. Please take care of this for me. I know you know what you're doing. I assume the first step would be a consultation.
Yeah, the first step is a consultation. It's just rather simple, rather informal. It's just letting me know about your property. You telling me everything that's going on. But from there, once we sign, it's very, very simple process. You're signing basically two paperworks. One that's called the appointment of agent form. And that just lets the county know, hey, I'm allowing Mickey to represent me for property tax matters. And
Right.
then the other one is just the contract that you agree upon between you and the taxpayer on how representation works. And so I just met with Harris County the other day, and their notices should be going out on April 17th. Their numbers are
Okay.
already on time, but they should be coming out, like you said, very soon. So that gives you about a month because May 15th is the deadline. So that gives you just a little small window to get those protest letters in, let the county know that you don't agree with the valuation. So we're gonna have to get on it pretty soon here.
Yes, definitely. That gives you very little time, but you've done this every day for 30 years, so you should be able to
Yeah,
do it very quickly.
yeah.
Now, the first step would be an informal hearing. After the consultation, you would file a protest online, correct? And then it would be an informal hearing? Is that the next step?
Yep. So you're exactly right. So we file the protest. We'll get an informal hearing. And so where it's just like you and I right now, we're just talking one on one. And then if we can't agree, and then we go to the next step, which is the appraisal review board, or inside we call it the formal. So we go from informal to formal. And it's just a panel of 3 members. It's almost like a court where there's 3 jury members and you try to get them to vote on your side. And so if you don't actually agree with their decision, you can actually sue or through litigation or file an arbitration.
Okay, well, that would probably not be for my little condo. That would probably be for some very large, expensive houses to go to the lawsuit level. But, personal preference.
Yeah, you'll be surprised. We have quite a few clients that even if it's a small house, we still do arbitration on their houses, to really save them every single dollar, and make
Absolutely.
sure that they stays down. Yep.
Wonderful. Well, how long does it, once you, I know you're not working for the county, so it might be hard to answer, but once you receive your letter and you file the protest or you give you a call and you take care of it for them, about how long does it take to get an informal hearing?
So it just matters. It's the government. So sometimes they take the time,
Not so
right?
quick.
But yeah, but in this particular case, this part of the government, the central appraisal districts are under the gun. So they got to get it all done before July is up. It's actually middle of July is when they're supposed to be done with valuations. But it does take time. So in Harris County, where like we are, it could run all the way into August. I do have some cases that will run all the way into the year after. Those are special
Wow.
cases, but you can
Right.
see it does take some time. But this is where we come into play, because in the informal we'll meet, and then if we don't agree on a separate day, I would have to come in for your formal. And so it, like you said, it is a time savings in itself. So the process
Absolutely.
can be long, but most of the time, I would say it'll be done by July. Once that May hits, then July is most of the cases would be done for most counties in the surrounding counties of Harris County for sure.
And now time for a short break.
Hi, my name is Greg with Graceful Moves Moving and Storage. And with over 1,500 five-star reviews, we're one of the #1 moving companies in the greater Houston area. We specialize in everything from local moves and long distance, packing and unpacking, storage solutions, and so much more. If you guys have any questions or if there's any way that we can serve you, contact us at 713-280-7990. That's 713-280-7990. Thanks.
Let me ask you this question. I want to ask it so I'm not putting any ideas into anybody's head, but we have a consultation and I say, look, my roof's barely hanging on. I've got a foundation issue. These are all things you take into consideration when arguing value. Do I need to provide proof of that or photos? Or, I mean, obviously we need to be honest when we're doing this, but uh, is there any documentation you would require or the county would require? Like
I
maybe an
wouldn't say
estimate from
they're
a contractor or something?
Yeah, I wouldn't say they're required, but it just when we're telling our story, the facts will take us all the way. We'll make it more believable, right? So
Right.
I would highly encourage to have the estimates, because we could say that we have a roof, but how much would the county believe us? How much would that ARB believe us, right? So if you have the facts to back up your story, it becomes so much more believable. So in a way, it's not required, but to me, it's definitely essential.
Absolutely. And you can usually, with a good contractor, get a good quote without having to spend any money, just some of your time,
Yeah. Yep. You're exactly
typically.
right.
Is there, I know I'm going to get an answer. It depends because that's everything in real estate. But if the average person comes to you and you save them an average amount, how much do you think that they would be saving? Is there any way to tell, or is that just truly a one-on-one basis, like maybe a 5% decrease? Or I know by asking that, it's going to depend, right? I know it is.
I can break it down in the numbers a little bit. And so I know in my meeting with the county that anything over 300,000, they're going to see quite a bit of an increase. So from 300,000 to 450,000, those values of homes saw about a 3% increase year over year from last year.
Okay.
And then from
Okay.
450 to about 750, I believe there was about 5%. And then this is the big one. Anything over 750,000 to, plus the million and plus, those saw a 9% increase. So
Wow.
yeah, so these are big dollar homes. It could be 10 million. So, 10% on $10 million home is $1 million
It's a
increase.
nice chunk of money. Yeah.
Yeah, so in those situations, you can definitely see that $1,000 would be a lot more. I think, you would be definitely way more than achievable on something like that. But as we come down to, 300,000, it matters. If there's a lot of repairs to be done, there's definitely some exceptional savings that can be had there.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
yeah.
every dollar counts, right? Especially now.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
Okay. I know you work in other counties. We're talking about Harris County because that's where we're both residing,
Mhm.
but you work in you can work all over the state. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I actually have all of the state, and then I have actually other states, clients in other states, that we represent, and their rules and their deadlines are definitely different. But it's a beautiful thing to work in Texas where property tax rules are pretty much straight across for Texas. So May 15th is all the way across Texas, as in, like, let's say Florida, each different county has a different deadline, and so you really got to stay on top of
Oh,
those.
what other states do
Yeah.
you work in? Obviously, Florida.
So when I first got in the industry, I was mainly just traveling and doing outside of Texas, and so we still work in Florida, we still work in California. I used to do Louisiana. We do Colorado, and so there are quite a few other states, and those are the main ones that I still work in.
I know a lot of Texans have homes in Colorado, so that's good to know. You'd be like a one-stop shop,
Yeah,
which is a good thing.
yeah.
Oh, someone else also asked, would protesting my value trigger an inspection or an audit? Does anything like that? Have you ever seen that happen? No.
No, I wouldn't say so. I actually would sometimes do the reverse. I would if I have had homes that we call a tear down condition where it's, it's unlivable. And to prove to them, I would say I need y'all to come out to the house and look at this, and so that way it proves. I can take pictures, and I can show studs, and I can show, all those are things. But sometimes once you're in the home and you feel the presence of the home, those I think it speaks more than pictures, even though
Oh,
pictures are worth a
absolutely.
thousand words. Yeah, but the feel of it, you can feel if a home hasn't been lived in, and that does things to a home. And so I will
Absolutely.
try to red flag it myself and get them to come out.
Yeah, and I know I've walked through a lot of homes. What won't show up on a picture is if you're walking through the home and all of a sudden you're walking downhill or you're walking down and back, the foundation itself, just walking through the home, you can tell a lot. Not everything,
Mhm.
but you can tell a lot.
Yeah, yeah. I guess it's the Monet effect where it looks pretty from afar, but up close we know the difference.
That's right. Another question I had was, will it affect my mortgage payment? I guess it could affect it based on the taxes. If your taxes go down, probably wouldn't have a huge effect on your mortgage payment, do you think? But it would have some, or could have some.
Yeah, so I've had clients that it affects it majorly, especially like
Oh,
new builds. Yeah, so if a house is just newly built, their escrow is based on the land value alone. And then once they're lived in a year, the county finally picks up the house. And so once that it's a big jump.
there's a
And
jump.
so that big
Yeah.
jump, yep, that big jump will create a big jump in the escrow. And so, the house note from month to month will see a huge increase. So that's one way. But I also had other clients that have not applied for all their exemptions, especially the homestead exemption, especially if you're over 65.
Oh my gosh,
And
yeah.
yeah, so essentially I'll try to apply for back years and try to get them credits for future years. And so I've had a client that had $10,000 worth of old exemptions that got applied, and then it dropped their escrow down quite a bit. And so it can go swing both ways, but this is part of the business where, and just as a homeowner needs to make sure that that exemption is in place, because that's step number one into tax savings.
I just went through that with a client. He thought she had filed the exemption. She thought he had filed the exemption. So nobody filed the exemption. So I got him on, told him where to go online and all that sort of thing. And I believe you could request 2 years in arrears. Is that correct? You can go back 2 years to request that exemption?
Yep, you're exactly right. So 2026, and then basically it means 25 and 24. So that's your two. But that deadline, I believe, is coming up pretty soon. April 15th is the deadline. So it's gonna come pretty quick. So I would try to do that as fast as possible.
As fast as, yeah, absolutely. They made sure they got it filed. The back pay, I don't know what's going to happen there, but at least they are
Yeah.
moving forward. Yeah, so there's homestead, there's senior exemption, 65 and older. There is disabled veteran. Am
Veterans.
I correct? What else?
Yes,
Am I
ma'am.
missing anything?
Uh, the veterans is the big one
It's a
also.
big one.
Yeah. So yeah, so 65 is a enormous tax savings. So like we
Yes.
said, we got to check on those exemptions before you even protest your taxes. And so those instantly will will help you out right away.
And just for anyone listening out there, if you file for an exemption, go back on HCAD in a few weeks and see if if it shows the exemption. If you have more than one, it usually says multiple, I believe. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am, it does. It'll say multiple if you really, really need to check in to see what kind of multiple is. Uh, HCAT is one part, and then go into the actual tax office and then look at the tax bill, and it'll show the individual exemptions that were applied to the property.
Perfect, perfect. Well, what other things would you like to tell us before we run out of time, Mickey? You're the expert on this, and it is coming up. The deadlines are going to happen soon. Aside from calling you to get this taken care of and not have to get gray hair over it, what should they be paying attention to? Looking for the letter, I guess, is step one, right?
Yeah, so you'll get the letter pretty soon. And if this is something that you want to do on yourself, I think it's totally doable. I first thing is get those. Once you get the letter, let the county know that you want to protest the valuation. And the other thing is request evidence. So before you're informal, the counties are required by law to provide the evidence that they're going to use against you 14 days before your hearing.
Okay, 14 days.
Huge,
okay.
right? So once you get that evidence, look through it. There's going to be all kinds of stuff in there. There's going to be drawings of your home. There's going to be the square footage. It's going to tell you when it was built. It's going to talk about half baths, all kinds of stuff in there. Make sure it's correct. That's another thing that will help you in saving taxes.
Sure.
If
Great idea.
all the taxes and valuations are based on the square footage. So let's say you have an attic that's air conditioned. It needs to be taken off that living space, because living space
Absolutely.
to me is just there's just air conditioned space. So sometimes I've
contiguous
seen
air conditioned space.
Yep. And those attics, sometimes they think it's air conditioned space. And so that will instantly save you money because it'll lessen the living area. And so a lot of their equations are based on that living area. So that's a tax savings right there. And so once you get that evidence, really go through it with a fine-tooth comb and pick through that. Another thing is it'll show you everything. It'll show you they think is the most comparable to your home. So if you live in a house that has a builder that built the whole neighborhood, there's gonna, quite possibly, there's a lot of homes that have the same style home. And so they're gonna compare you with them. But sometimes they don't know that you had a remodel or they had a remodel. So you gotta really make sure they're not comparing you to other remodel homes when you're not remodeled.
Right.
And then
Absolutely.
And the same thing goes with the sales. So the sales is really what drives the market. And so I want you to look at those sales and really make sure that, like you said, to get with your realtor and they can tell you the notes on there. This house was remodeled. This house had this and this done. So it's not comparable to your house, and you can't allow that county to use it against you. So if this is something that you're taking upon yourself, I highly recommend to really, really sit down and analyze the information that they're using, against you.
That's great. I did not know that part. So that is wonderful. Okay. Any other suggestions or tidbits of information, Mickey?
Not that I can think of right now.
We've covered a lot. We've covered a lot.
Yeah.
Well, before we run out of time, if someone is interested in talking to you, how do they reach you?
They can email me at mle@atmtax.com.
lme@atmtax.com, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Great, great. That's wonderful. Let me ask you one more question because this just popped into my head here. Let's say someone has just refinanced their home and they have an appraisal from the lender, and it's less than what the county has. Is that a good item of proof as well?
Oh, this is one's a loaded question. So
Oh, sorry.
no. I want to take it on. When it comes to appraisal, it's a opinion of value. And so
Correct.
a lot of times the county will look at it and use it a little bit on how they would come to evaluation. In the informal, it won't work as much. I will tell you at the formal, it has a little bit more credence. If we litigate and such like that, those will have a little bit more credence from the formal level. And so sometimes they take those opinions, because everybody has a different opinion, with a grain of salt.
Right.
And so, at the informal level, they won't look at it as much. But at the other different levels and the purpose of why that appraisal, it could be very handy.
Okay, that's good to know. Well, once again, Mickey, thank you so much. Everybody out there, please look for your letters. And if it's overwhelming, if you'd like help, give Mickey a call. And hopefully everything will turn out good for you. But it's worth doing every year, people. Thank you, Mickey, again for taking time out of your day. I really appreciate it. Thanks for coming back on the podcast.
It's always an honor.
All right. Well, I know you're getting on your running shoes as of April 17th to May 15th, right? You'll be busy.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you for tuning in to the Real and Real Estate Podcast. I hope today's insights have inspired and empowered you. Don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review, and share the podcast with anyone who might benefit. Have questions or a topic you'd like us to explore? We'd love to hear from you. Until next time, stay informed, stay inspired, and keep moving towards success.